This is Andrew Reiber. I'm here with Richard Burdick for his numismatic interview. Richard has been a researcher, a numismatist, a collector almost his entire life, and we're here to talk about his life experiences today. Good morning, Richard.
Morning,
So, you were born in the late 40s,
1947.
okay? And have you always collected coins?
Well, my first awareness of old coins was when I was 4 or 5 years old.
Okay.
The box I told you about, the black strong box.
Where was that at?
It was in the bottom drawer of a chest of drawers where my mom put my T-shirts, socks, that sort of thing, and it was there since I don't know why it was there, but it was just underneath all my clothes in that drawer. And I never really piqued an interest in coins. I just always saw them there. And then when I was 5 or 6 years old, I'd take some of the Indian pennies out of there, and there, just a half a block away, there was a prescription place, and you get sodas, ice cream, and that sort of thing. So I'd take my buddies over there and buy bubble gum, nickel cokes, cheese crackers with peanut butter, and well, actually, I was 7 years old. For my mother gave me a Buffalo nickel, 1915 D Buffalo nickel.
Do you still have the coin?
I do. It's in that tray. And that started piquing my interest, and I owe a lot of it to a friend of mine that lived down the street, Bruce. As we spent more of these Indian pennies and Buffalo nickels and Liberty nickels, there was a lot of that stuff in the trays. He kept telling me, he said, we gotta. He was a coin collector, so we rode our bikes down to Ben Franklin, which was just several hundred yards away from where I lived, and he bought me a book for Indian pennies, Lincoln pennies. That was the start of it. He paid for it, and we went home and started going through that cash box, filling the holes. I mean, there's a lot of good Buffalo nickels in there with full dates, and we must have filled out of there a dozen, maybe 2 dozen holes in the Buffalo nickel book, plus the 15D that my mother had given me for my 7th birthday. And there was a lot of Indian pennies in there. We filled a number of holes. It was fun. We were having fun taking the coins out of that strong box and filling holes. And I was really getting really interested in coins. And then I started delivering papers with my brother when I was 7 years old. He'd pay me a nickel a day, and I do like half the paper route. So I did a little over 100, carrying in a bag, carrying these papers around. And then when I was about 9 years old, I'd been doing this 2 years. My brother started playing football junior high school, so I started doing the whole paper route. So he wanted to get out of the paper route, and I was been doing it, and I knew how to do it. You weren't supposed to get a paper route until you're 11 years old, but they made an exception since I'd been doing it so good, and they've had no problems. They let me have my own paper route when I was 9. And I started having a cash flow. At that time, I only made $10 or $12 a week for doing 204 papers. That's 24/7. There's no days off. You work 365 days a year. And Mrs. Madison, she was one of the she was on like the fourth customer that I would deliver, and she was so good to me. She would, on the really cold days, she'd have hot chocolate and cookies, have me in, get warmed up, and for Christmas, she gave me an 1884 O silver dollar, which I still have, and years later, that happened like in 1957. 58, right in there. And then when I was 11 years old, I asked her if she had any old coins. She said, I do. And she goes into her room. She brings out the 1851 gold dollar. It was in remarkably good condition. And she told me that she had taken this to downtown Battle Creek to McCoy's Stamp and Coin Shop. And they offered her $11 for it in 1954. And she said, I could have it for that price. And that was the first gold coin that I don't even know if I'd ever seen a gold coin.
Did you have $11 at that time?
No, I didn't. But I took my paper puncher and I punched her up 6 months in advance, which was, she didn't care, and it was an easy way for me to pay for this coin. So I kept taking that coin to the local coin club meeting, which I had to ride my bike about 3 miles, and which really got me even more interested because now I'm around a lot of collectors. And shortly after that, I did buy that $1 gold piece. And a lot of the guys, they were attorneys, doctors. It was a good cross section of rural America at this meeting, very popular coin club. And these guys, the wealthy guys, they kept trying to buy that gold dollar from me. I didn't want to sell it. In each meeting, the price would go up a little bit. And I think it was an attorney. He finally offered me like $150 for this thing. And I thought, that's great. I'm
in the late
selling.
50s, that's a lot of money.
It was. Yes, it was. And I only paid $11 for it. And I got that money, and I went out. What did I blow it on? Flat pack proof sets. In fact, I fell in love with proof sets. And later on, we'll get to more of the proof set story. So, let me think of some more of this. Like I said, when I was 7, my mother gave me that 15D buckle nickel, and I started filling books. Because I had a paper, I had cash flow every week, money going through my hands.
Did you go to the local coin shop and buy coins there? Or?
I started doing that when I was maybe 12. And it wasn't very far from where I lived. I mean, less than a quarter of a mile from where I lived. And I didn't spend that much money there. And I could never find a 50D nickel. I filled my whole set. I couldn't find that 50D nickel. So I finally bought one for about $5. Nice uncirculated piece. And it stood out from all the others because most of the others I'd gotten out of circulation. So when I think it was maybe 12 years old by the time I completed my Buffalo Jefferson nickel set. Although I did collect Buffalo nickels. And in that strong box, there were a number of V nickels, quite worn. There wasn't any in really good shape.
Did you collect V nickels then too?
Yeah, but I didn't get serious about it. I never went out and bought them. I just the ones are in the strong box.
Well, let's take a look at the. You have the strong box still, don't you?
I do.
Well, let's go ahead and take a look at that.
Where did I put it? Oh, it's right here. How's that look?
It's quite a well-worn strong box. Whose name is on top of
That's
that?
my great-grandfather's name, Griffin. He was from Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Okay.
He was old, but even when I was young, he was born in 1867.
Okay.
And lived to be, 98?
Wow.
But I got some coin stories about him, actually, too.
All right.
He wasn't really a collector. Okay, tell me what you want to do.
Let's take a look inside.
Well, first of all, this box, I remember being in the bottom drawer of my chest of drawers. And I'd look in there once in a while. It was full of old coins. And I didn't think that much about it until I was about 6, 7 years old. There was handfuls of Indian pennies, wheat pennies, buffalo nickels, D nickels. There were very few silver coins, but there were a few. And so, anyways, when I was about 7 years old, should I open this?
Sure.
Of course, now all the coins are gone. These notes, they were not in there. There's a tray, see, that comes out to keep your paper money in. And there was some really old, nasty notes in there. And I don't know whatever happened to them. I haven't seen them in years. But these trays were literally full of Indian pennies, buffalo nickels, V nickels. And like I say, oh, there was a few silver coins, Barber, Standing Liberty quarters. And this really started piquing my interest. And my a friend down the street, Bruce, he was 2 years old. He was 9. And I keep taking these Indian pennies out when we go out and buy bubble gum.
Did you ever wonder what you spent? What dates?
Oh, no, I didn't. I wasn't looking at dates at that time. So this kept driving Bruce, who was a coin collector. He just says, we got to quit doing this. He says, some of these coins might be worth money. So we rode our bikes down to Ben Franklin, and he bought for me a book on Indian pennies, Lincoln pennies, and buffalo nickels. And we went back to my house, opened this box, and just started filling holes. And there must have been almost 2 dozen buffalo nickels that were in here that started filling the holes in the album. And Indian pennies, there was a good part of a set starting about 1870s, 78. Of course, we didn't find a 9S or 8S, but most of those dates, and some of those coins were ex-FAUs. Most of them were worn, but none of them had ever been cleaned. They were just kind of the old chocolate brown look.
Just right out of circulation.
Exactly. Somebody took those out of circulation back in the 30s and 40s. And some of the Lincoln pennies, like 33, 34, in the late 30s, were pretty, but still unk. And even some of them had mint red. But, and again, with the Lincoln pennies, oh gosh, maybe 2 dozen dates, the more common dates, were in this box. But where we bought the coin albums was right across the street from a coin shop. And I started frequenting that when I was about 9 years old.
Do you remember the name?
Boy, Orrin Fox was the guy's name. That was the coin dealer that ran the shop, but I don't remember. It was actually a Schwinn bicycle shop, but he had a couple of cases off to one side. And I do not remember the name of the shop, but I do remember his name, Orrin Fox. And I got some interesting experiences with him later on.
What do you store in the box now?
Well, I left many of these things they're old marbles. They were in the box with the coins, and I've just always left them in here. I didn't really collect marbles, but these are really old marbles. There was a couple of wooden nickels. This one is from Dearborn, Michigan, some coin club. Yeah. What does it say? Yeah, Dearborn, Michigan Coin Club. There's another one over here. I never collected these wooden nickels, but they were in the strong box. What does this one say? I can't really make it out. Well, this is 33 years, married to someone, November.
Well, that's a very interesting box you got. So, did your parents ever say anything to you about taking coins out of the box?
I never told them, and they never noticed. Just the only ones that noticed was my 2 friends, Bill and Bruce. Now, Bill didn't care anything about coins, but Bruce, I got to credit him for really getting me interested in this because like I said, we rode our bikes down to Ben Franklin, and he actually, with his own money, he bought me the books for Indian pennies, Lincoln pennies, and buffalo nickels.
Are you still friends with them?
I haven't seen Bruce since, oh, he's maybe 17 or 18 years old. He moved to Texas, then Florida, and I haven't seen him in many, many years.
Were there people from the coin club that you stayed in contact with your whole life, or?
Well, yes and no. The president of the coin club was a guy named Al, and later on he became mayor of this town for a number of years. But he was also a partner in a coin shop that I would frequent later on in life.
How many coin shops were there in Battle Creek?
Two, well, actually three at one time. The old one, which I have fond memories of, was called McCoy's Stampin' Coin. It's in downtown Battle Creek, Michigan. There was another one. That was the old school store, and then there was another one that I attended often because only 2 blocks from where I lived, so I easily had access to ride my bike. I could walk down there if I wanted to. And over the years, I'd fill some of the holes from the Buffalo nickels, the Lincoln pennies that I didn't find in this box. Well, I had money going through my hands every day and every week because my paper route, I had to collect for the paper. So I had extra money, and on Saturdays I had to ride my bike about 10 blocks away because I'm paying cash for the paper. Any money I had left over was my money. But you had to make sure you collected from these people every week, and some people would pay you by the month. And that was much more convenient because they didn't have to catch them home every week.
All right.
That's a good place to stop.
All right. So we're going to go ahead and take a break here, and we'll be back with more of Richard Burdick.